We're going to show you how to turn a mountain of clay into a finished tile. When they come out of the kiln, the tiles are baked to this beautiful red color. And when they box them up, they're still warm. And back at the house, we'll see the tiles laid down to become a beautiful roof.
And we're going to find out where Los Angeles gets its water.
Nearly 20% of LA's residents get served out of this reservoir.
Two months into the project here at Silver Lake, and the crew is really starting to move. Now we've got an addition which is off the back of the house, and the last time we were here it was just framed, but now you can see it is completely sheathed and the roof is starting to go on, and that gives us a sense of scale. It doesn't overwhelm the house, it sits back there nicely, and most importantly, it fits with the rest of the neighborhood, which is exactly what our homeowners wanted. So it's time to start buttoning up the house. Angel, good to see you again.
Kevin, how you doing?
All right, so we're ready to start closing it up, which means roof, windows, and doors, correct?
Exactly.
And what, everything arrived this week?
Everything just arrived actually this morning.
Really?
We got a city inspection today. We received the roof tile. Look at this roof tile.
So we're going with a traditional red clay, similar to what was on the house?
Similar to what was on the house. This stuff's gonna last over 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was made in Corona.
And that's close to here, right?
Actually, it's about an hour east of here.
Well, that's good, because I'm gonna take a trip down to the factory and watch this stuff be made.
Oh, you'll get to see how they fire it and heat it up in
right.
the shop.
And then later on, I'm gonna watch you guys put it on the roof, so we'll get the whole story. We've also got some custom-made windows and doors. These were made nearby too, right?
These were made nearby. Actually, they were made about 15 minutes away down in the San Fernando Valley.
We're looking at a door frame, two of them actually, and those will go off the back of the house. And also the windows, all made by hand. And you guys are ready to install a bunch of these?
We are ready to install them. Actually, we've got a couple set up right now. We're getting ready to put them in.
Well, what do you say we have a look? What you guys do?
Let's go.
So inside we've got some pretty significant changes to the original house. We had a very small kitchen tucked in back here. We took over a little bit of a utility room, so we got a larger kitchen.
Double the size.
Yeah, and we actually connect it to a great room.
This is the great room now, Kevin.
Beautiful. Connected to the kitchen and also connected to the back views.
With a rear deck.
And those door jambs that we saw out front are actually going to go in this opening right here, correct?
Yes, they are. They're going right in here.
Family's going to spend a lot of time in this room.
Oh, they're going to have a beautiful view out of this room also.
There used to be 2 bedrooms downstairs. We still have 2 bedrooms tucked behind a new staircase because we've got a new second story. And one of the bedrooms has got itself a little Juliet balcony with views of Silver Lake. I guess the kids are going to be fighting over this one, right?
We're going to be arguing over this one, I think, Kevin.
All right. Also, one of the bedrooms where we're putting in the windows, and this is the unit right here. This is kind of surprising. It's a custom-made wood window, outside and in, and it's also a single pane of glass. I can't tell you the last time we installed a window like this. We are typically installing double pane windows, 2 pieces of glass with a gas or an air gap for insulation purposes, and you guys aren't. Why?
Why? Because we wanted to match the existing look of the house with the existing windows.
Okay. But what about all the efficiencies? I mean, insulation.
Well, we have a low E coating embedded in this glass, Kevin. And here in California, we're worried about the heat, keeping the heat out. So with this low E on this window, basically it's going to reflect that heat and throw it back out.
And this meets your guys' tough environmental building standards?
Absolutely. Title 24 here in California is one of the toughest building standards we have.
All right, well, can't argue with that. So we've got an opening, and you guys have prepped it. It looks like you painted it. What's going on here?
Actually, we've primed this with an oil-based primer.
Why is that?
We do this only because this is like our last line of defense. Based on what we do here, this is going to protect if any of the water gets past the window, past the flashing, and underneath there, this wood is not going to rot out.
All right, so you're protecting against rot. So if this is your last line of defense, what's the first line of defense?
Flashing.
Let's have a look at the flashing. Get this detail.
And for that, Kevin, we use this self-sealing membrane we have right here.
All right.
Peel back.
Sticky on this side.
Very sticky on this side. And as you'll see, what we've done here is we've stick it to the bottom here. And as we do that, we make sure that we get it all over the sill, all the way to the outside of the window.
Right.
Coming up the jambs on both sides and across the headpiece.
So that's all nicely sealed right here. And
yes, it is.
What about the window unit itself?
Actually, on the unit, you'll see that it's pre-installed, this house wrap here.
Oh, that's nice. So the manufacturer does that for you? You guys don't have to do it?
Actually, the manufacturer does do it for us. That gives it the guarantee. We put a bead of caulk right up against the edge of it, and then we put another bead of caulk, a second bead of caulk down the jambs outside, so that when we stick this flash into it, it'll actually stick right up to the house.
Okay. All right, let's see if we can help him get it by the scaffolding.
Pones aquí.
Okay, so the flashing and the caulking is going to keep the weather from getting in the house, Angel, but it's not going to stop it from getting on this window. The sun's going to be beating down on this thing. It's not clad, it's not composite. This is 100% wood.
It's 100% wood, and the homeowners know. They want to keep this look, so they're going to have to do the maintenance every 5 to 10 years.
So they're going to be painting.
They'll be painting, definitely.
Our roof is made out of Spanish clay tiles, and over here the original roof is still in place, and that makes it about 75 years old. And those tiles, they look like this. It is a handmade tile in Mexico, and it has these grooves coming down the front, and it is a really good look that our homeowners like. But to replicate it, well, that would be expensive. In fact, about 4 times the cost of a factory-made clay tile like this one. But we do have 800 square feet of new roof that we've got to lay down, so we've got a bit of a problem. And the solution was harvest some of the old tiles from the roof, which we've stacked right here, and then we're going to install them just around the perimeter. Only the places you can see from the street. The rest of the roof, the field, will be filled in with the factory tiles. And that is a job for our roofer, John Dybas.
Kevin, the roof actually what it does is it prevents the moisture from getting into the house, protects from all the outside elements. But what's really important is the underlayment.
So the clay tile's shedding the water, but not all of it.
That is correct. Moisture can eventually penetrate it and get behind it, and your felt paper or your underlayment prevents that from getting into the wood or the home.
So felt paper is what you guys used to use. You can see some of it here on the old roof.
Yes, this is the old asphalt-based type material. It usually comes with a 10-year warranty on it. As you can see, it's already crumbling. Once the sun here in California gets to it, it's so hot it sucks the life right out of it.
So not much left of that. What are you guys putting down for the new roof?
This is a new polypropylene material. It has no moisture or very little in it, so it doesn't have to worry about the sun damaging it. And also, it's extremely durable. It doesn't tear or rip. It's also, what's really neat too is it comes with a 50-year warranty, which ties right in with the tile's 50-year warranty.
Nice. So you lay it out in rolls, obviously, nail it down, and then it goes over the entire roof, but what you guys are really focusing on are the hips and the valleys.
That is correct. And what we do on the hips and ridges, we have to install this ridge board. And what that accomplishes is that it gives us a nailing pattern.
This 2x6 right here is the ridge board.
That is correct. We have our underlayment go underneath it, then we put the ridge board in, then we seal it with a peel and stick material made by the same manufacturer.
And what's the ridge board for?
This allows your tiles to finish into a vertical. They'll be cut at an angle. Once they're installed, then this gives us our proper nailing for our ridge caps.
Shoot right through there.
Right, and then what we do is come back in and do a mortar application to keep it nice and tight.
So the hips and ridges are all watertight. What do we do to make the valleys watertight?
Over here on the wall treatment, what you've got is a tile pan. As water sheets down the roof, it can have a tendency to shoot under the tile. You want to protect that. So now it comes down into this pan, it's caught by this little lip, and it's taken off the roof.
So we've got underlayment, peel and stick, pan here, and then how are you going to go up the sidewall?
Well, they've got a vertical, it's called a Z-metal application, which comes down the wall, out, and down over the top, which covers it and it prevents any water from getting underneath it.
Guys aren't messing around with these ridges and valleys. Okay, so when those are all flash, are you ready to lay tile?
That's correct.
All right, well, while you're getting started on that, I'm going to go see how these things are made. Thank you, John.
Yes, you too.
Clay is one of the original building materials. For thousands of years, we have been pulling it from the earth, adding water, adding fire, and ending up with tiles. And this is actually one of the tiles that's going up on our roof. It's made right here at the country's largest manufacturer of clay tiles. And the recipe, well, it's pretty basic. You get different kinds of clay. Each clay has got a different iron content, and that gives it its color. And you find those clays, you mix them together, you add a little bit of sand for strength, and then that mix right there gives us this beautiful red color. The big piles of clay are scooped with a front end loader and put into different hoppers where they're all mixed together. When the clays are mixed, it's ground into a fine powder, and you can see it still has a little bit of water in it. When you squeeze it, it holds its form. A conveyor belt carries mixed clay to a hopper, where they add just a little bit of water, an additive for strength, and then they mix it again. Now we have to push the clay through a steel die to give it its basic form. And this is ours right here. Now all of that happens right over here. There's an auger that pushes the clay up to a pressure head, extrudes it through the die, and we end up with the basic shape of our tile. And you can see that it's under such intense pressure that the clay is heating up. Then we take the uniform extrusion and we turn it into the basic shape of our tile right here. There are two knives that cut the front and the back so that the tile to the proper length. And then there are two more knives that cut the sides at a slight angle. And those knives, they also push the front closer so that we change the radius of the front to the back. They punch a nail hole, the waste is returned to the hopper, and the clay is in its final form. But it's not tile yet. Clay isn't tile until it's baked, or what they call fired. But before you do that, you want to extract as much water as possible. They want to get these tiles down to about 2% of moisture content. So the conveyor belts bring everything over to a big dryer. The tiles are rolled onto baskets, and then they slowly travel through the dryer at about 250 degrees for 6 hours. After 6 hours, the tiles come out of the dryer, and then a conveyor belt brings them around and sends them into the kiln. Now, most companies fire their tiles in kilns over the course of 5 to 7 days, but this is the only company that does a fast fire process. That means it only takes 90 minutes in the kiln. So the tiles are rolled through on ceramic rollers, and the heat starts to intensify. And when it hits 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, then and only then is when clay becomes ceramic tile. When they come out of the kiln, the tiles are baked to this beautiful red color. And when they box them up, they're still warm. Now, we needed about 1,800 of these for our project. That's not going to be a problem. This factory makes over 9 million roof tiles a year. John's guys are making good progress on the roof, starting with the perimeters and a couple courses. Looks like that first course you guys actually lay upside down.
Yep, this is a two-pan system. So what you've got is a bottom pan that channels the water. You take the top pan, it's installed over the top. What happens is the water sheds off into the pan and is channeled off the roof. Now, then the second course, as you're working your courses up the roof, you see it covers the nail hole, and you just continue to do courses all the way up until you finish into a ridge.
Pan top, all the way up to the ridge.
Correct. And you finish into a ridge, exactly. What we're doing here is that we're wetting the tiles, because when you do a mortared set, the concrete won't set up to a dry tile. It will separate eventually.
So these are actually being set into a bed of mortar. It looks like just along the front edge there.
That's correct. It gives it a very rustic look. It also holds the tile down in a high wind.
So once it gets mortared on the front, he takes a long nail and nails it to the roof.
That's correct. So they have the nail in the back and you have the mortar in the front. Now you notice at the edge of the roof line here, what we've got is we're putting in a small piece of clay. This is called a bird stop. And what the bird stop does, it prevents any birds from nesting up under this area because you've got this large opening. It also prevents other critters from coming up into it, as well as embers, any fire embers from blowing up underneath the roof. And it's an attractive little detail as well.
So John, what's this short little piece we're starting with?
That's a starter piece, and what it does is it bumps up the bottom row of tiles so it conforms to all the other courses as they go up the roof.
Why the wire?
The wire, because it's a small piece of tile, they actually wire that to the nail above it to hold it in place until the mortar sets.
All right, and so when you set it in there, it bumps the front up and the back sits down right where it's supposed to be.
It gives you the proper angle as the courses go up the roof. Exactly. Then we just nail it in place. Now, other than the starter course, you've got your full courses that come up until they strike a ridge or a hip angle. What Jorge's doing now is he's sizing it up off the ridge.
Just really just eyeballing it, right?
Pretty much, exactly right. This is old school. Now he chips it out. See how nice that clean that breaks?
Yep.
Okay, now what he's going to do is he's going to fit this into the angle. And it doesn't have to be exact because we're going to use the mortar later on. We'll get to that. But see, it fits in nice and tight.
So you've cut the pan, and he's also going to make cuts on all the top tiles.
Exactly right.
Now, some of the guys were using a saw, circular saw, but your guy here prefers the nippers.
Jorge's been doing this for a long time. He's very good at what he does, and it's kind of old school, but it works really well.
Sure does. And there it goes. And it's not a perfect fit, but it doesn't seem like you guys are too fussy about it.
No, it's going to all be mortared in, so it'll give you a nice, consistent seam seal all the way down the whole ridge line.
So he nipped off the end with the hole. He's just going to make his own.
That's what he does. Perfect placement. Now we just take and put the mortar in to seal up all the edges where they join into the ridge line. And then you'll have this continuous, seamless seal, and then you can put your ridge cap on.
And then you just cap off the ridge with some more tiles that you've mortared in there.
Yeah, they're installed exactly the same way as the courses in the main field, nailed and with mortar on the tip. Now what we're going to be using on this ridge line is the existing tile, because this might be visible from the ground area,
right?
So it looks really nice. Then on the other real important area, we're going to be using the same original tile. It's on the front, on the rake area.
Yep.
On the rake, because it wraps along on the fascia area, it's very visible from the street, you're going to want to use the original tile. But all through the field area, we're going to be using new tile.
Okay. And so how much tile in total are you putting down for us?
Totally 1,700 square foot of pre-existing and new tile.
Great. Well, we really appreciate it. It's already looking like a beautiful roof.
Yeah, it's going to be a real pretty project, no
All
doubt.
right, thank you. And some pretty views of Silver Lake from up here. What do you think of these, John?
Well, Silver Lake's one of the prettier areas in Los Angeles, there's no doubt about that.
Every time I come to California, I am reminded about the challenge with water. You fly into LA, you look down and you see nothing but a desert. They actually call it a semi-arid condition. And you realize that all this greenery has to be supported by water. And they don't have a lot of it locally. Most of it's imported. And it doesn't come from nearby. Most of it's going to come from 300 or 400 miles away in the Sierra Mountains. It's also no small engineering feat to satisfy the water needs of an ever-thirsty Los Angeles.
So Richard, we're at Silver Lake Reservoir, actually what the neighborhood was named after. The reservoir was constructed in 1907 when there were really no houses around here at all. It actually is holding right now about 800 million gallons of drinking water.
And this has already been treated, but this is actually offline now, right?
That's right. It's actually used only for emergencies or we have real high demands. We're relying on the sister reservoir, Ivanhoe Reservoir over here. It's much smaller currently for the water supply for the area.
All right, so what percentage of LA's houses get their water from Ivanhoe?
Well, nearly 20% of LA's residents, about 750,000 people, get served out of this reservoir.
And that's all the people that are downhill of us. Ironically, Silver Lake doesn't get any water from here, right?
That's correct. Because they're higher elevation, they get water from another reservoir. This reservoir feeds downtown, central LA, East LA, but not the local neighborhood.
I gotta ask you, it's covered with all these black balls. Looks like bocce balls. What's going on there?
Well, there's actually 3.2 million of these shade balls on the reservoir.
Really?
And we put these balls on the reservoir to protect it from sunlight. We had a chemical reaction occurring when sunlight interacted with the chlorine and formed bromate, which is a carcinogenic compound.
Sure, that's not good.
And so to protect the water quality, we put these on as an interim measure.
All right, and how much depth is there underneath this cover of black balls?
There's about 35 feet of water underneath there.
All right, now this also has to go offline, right?
That's correct. Ivanhoe's got to go out of service, just like Silver Lake does to meet the new water quality regulations.
What are you gonna do?
Well, we're actually going to replace both these reservoirs with the new reservoir a few miles upstream that will be buried underground, but will be about twice the size of Ivanhoe Reservoir.
Wow. So what happens to Silver Lake? They have to change the name of the neighborhood?
Now, it'll still be Silver Lake, and there'll still be water in the reservoirs, but we just won't be drinking it anymore.
Got it.
Now, Richard, the new reservoir is going to be built right here in Griffith Park.
And Griffith Park is so well known, the largest municipal park in America. What, 4,200 acres?
That's right. And right now, although we haven't buried the reservoir in the park yet, we're working on the pipeline that'll bring water from the reservoir.
And that, I assume, is down in this very deep hole?
Yes, it is. We're going to take a look at it.
I'll follow you.
Richard, we're right here in Griffith Park where the new reservoir is going to be.
I tell you, this is not a view that many people get at Griffith Park. What are we, 35 feet down?
That's right.
Now, how far is the Griffith Park from Silver Lake?
The new reservoir is going to be actually about 7 miles away from Silver Lake and Ivanhoe.
So you're running this pipe. How big is it?
This is an 8-foot diameter pipe.
8 feet, and how long is each section?
The sections that we're putting in are between 20 and 30 feet long.
So you're running 7 miles at 20 feet at a time?
That's right.
So what's the pipe made of?
This pipe's made out of steel. It's a little over a ½ inch thick.
Look at it.
And then outside the steel, we have a coating, and that coating protects it from corrosion. Then we have a cement coating on top of that coating, so it's kind of like belt and suspenders. And there's another cement coating on the inside. And all that keeps the pipe from being touched by water or the environment.
And these guys are welding it all together in there?
Yeah, it takes about 6 passes of welding at each joint to make the pipe up. And then when they finish the weld, they'll actually coat the inside and the outside so it'll look just like it does now one continuous piece of pipe.
All right, so in this case, they're dropping these sections, the guys are welding it, sealing it, they inspect it, and then this ram drives it in through that tunnel 20 feet at a time.
That's right, and it'll connect at the other end and keep going all the way down to Silver Lake and
I
Ivanhoe.
tell you, Marty, it's just amazing. What an engineering marvel. It makes building the pyramid seem simple.
It does.
Our house is a Spanish colonial revival, and there are a lot of those style houses here in the neighborhood. And one of the things that makes a Spanish colonial revival what it is its stucco facade, and there is a lot of stucco on this street. It is on either side, and of course on our house as well. And Alfonso Garcia is not only going to do our plaster inside, but our stucco on the outside.
Correct.
Tell me about what we've got on the house here.
Well, right now, this house represents what we call in sand finish.
Why do you call it a sand finish?
Because you can see some of the aggregates showing through.
The sand, actually.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is done with the rubber float, you know.
And how many coats of stucco are we looking at?
This is actually 2 coats of stucco, which is scratch and brown.
Scratch and
finish used to be done on the brown coat.
Do you think this is original to the house?
Of course, it is original.
So 1932, this is over 70 years old.
Correct.
Holding up?
Pretty well, man.
All right, so we got ourselves a good stucco job. What do we have to do to it?
Well, on this particular case, the front of this house is going to be sandblasted.
Sandblasted, and then what?
And then we're going to put another finish coat on top,
Okay.
which is going to be vinegar color in it.
Oh, so the paint coat is going to be built right into that top coat.
Correct.
All right, so that's what we've got to do to the original house, and we've got an addition out back. Angel made some good progress. He's got all the windows in, and they're properly flashed back here on the addition.
Correct. Right now we have exposed plywood, and right now we put in a double layer of craft paper. After that, we're gonna put a wire, stucco wire.
So this is the mesh wire that the stucco is going to key into, right?
Exactly.
And what are we doing for stucco back here?
We're gonna do a scratch and brown, and then finish coat with the vinegar color in it.
Oh, so the integral color top coat is going to tie in the whole house. Original house to the addition.
Correct. So everything blends in.
Terrific. And that's what we're going to see next time. So until then, I'm Kevin O'Connor
And I'm Alfonso Garcia.
for This Old House here in Los Angeles, California. Hey, we're making some real progress now, huh?